Go ahead and call the meeting to order. We have a joint meeting today with the Estancia Valley Solid Waste Authority. If we could all stand please for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Garland, could you lead us in prayer, please?
Participating.
Dear God, we thank you for today. We thank you for allowing us to gather. We just ask that you help us do the business of the county and give us wisdom in this time. In your name, amen.
I was late.
At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to Bill Williams, Chair for the Estancia Valley Waste Authority.
Thank you. I'd like to call our meeting to order, and we have a roll call vote.
I'm here but not voting.
Okay.
That.
Okay. Joe Barnes. Danny. Larry Irvin. Philip Johnson.
Yes.
Paul Madrid. Debbie Ortiz. Jerry Pack.
Here.
Gordy Phillips. Jeffrey Snyder. Bill Williams.
Here. We do have a forum.
Yes, sir.
Any questions on the agenda? Not a motion to approve? So moved. Motion to move and second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Our next item on the agenda is our joint meeting workshop with Torrance County Commission. And we appreciate you allowing us to do this. We think it's really important, and we feel like you thought we do too. We wouldn't be doing it. So we really appreciate it. And Joseph is going to take over now and give us a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commission Chair, Commissioners, Board members. For the record, I'm Joseph Ellis, Manager of the Estancia Valley Solid Waste Authority. And with your permission, Bill Williams has asked me to prepare a presentation which summarizes a little bit of the history of the authority, what we are tasked to do, and our current budget and the reason that we need to have this meeting today. And so today's task is to begin to look at a long-term strategy for sustainable Torrance County waste management operation. And the reason that sustainable is the question and is the issue is because, and as I have said in the county commission meeting before, and the EVSWA board well knows, of the enterprise fund operations that the authority operates, the landfill has net revenues annually that have traditionally been used to cover the shortfall of revenues from expenses in the waste management operation that we do for the county. So I'd like to go over today a little bit of what how that came about and what we're looking at today. To go back to 1995, there were 6 entities, each of which had their own little dumpling landfill. The Environment Department of the state of New Mexico said you can't use those anymore, you have to close them, and your waste has to be disposed in a Subtitle D EPA landfill. And so these 6 entities came together and formed the Estancia Valley Solid Waste Authority to pool their resources to develop a Subtitle D landfill, which they did beginning in 1995. The land acquisition, the permitting, the equipping, and the construction of that landfill complete with the engineering design. It took 3 years, and the landfill opened in 1998. It actually opened as the Torrance County, Bernalillo County Regional Landfill because the county of Bernalillo, at the time that this landfill was started up, came in with an infusion of capital in the amount of $660,000, and so they became a partner of the landfill. EVSWA operations today include the Estancia Valley Regional Landfill, the Torrance County Waste Management System, commercial services, which include renting roll-offs and participating in illegal dumping cleanups and tire grant opportunities, and the new recycling operation. The Torrance County Waste Management System came to the attention of the authority not long after it was formed, when the county undertook to set up a solid waste management system based on an ordinance. Some of you may remember that prior to that time, the county solid waste services were handled by the road department, and some of the operations even involved dumpsters out on county roads, which were serviced by road department folks in pickup trucks. So it was a pretty basic operation. So the ordinance was enacted which prescribed the collection of a solid waste management fee and the collection of solid waste in the collection stations around the county. And so the authority set out to build those stations and to equip them and to manage them, and also set up a billing system for all the residential properties in the county. This is what the Estancia Valley Regional Landfill looks like. In 2008, this is cell number 3, which was just being constructed. In the background, this little green mound here is cell number 1. That's the cell that started in 1998. It was a 3-acre cell. It lasted 5 years. We went into cell 2A and cell 2B adjacent to this cell here. So cell 3 in 2008 is a 6-acre cell, and it was funded by a loan from the New Mexico Environment Department, as well as a CDBG grant that the County of Torrance got in the amount of $500,000. The loan from the Environment Department included the engineering on the plan, included the permit, which was a 20-year permit, which was redone then, included the excavation of this 6-acre cell, and also the permitting and excavation of the adjacent construction and demolition cell. The liner, which is the black material that you see here, is the double liner with the leachate collection system. It's a state-of-the-art landfill. And this liner was a $500,000 portion of the project, which was paid by the CDBG grant from the county. So that's what the cell looked like in 2008, and today, this is where we are. This liner edge down here is right along this edge here. So you can see how much we have filled up in these 4 years. This is where the working face is, and it is almost up to grade level. When this airspace continues to fill up, it will actually overtop some of cell 2 and 2A and 2B, which gives us even more airspace going up to the top here. Current cell life remaining is plus or minus 4 years, and that is largely dependent on the influx of material that we get from Bernalillo County, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Diversion is really important because of that $1.1 million that it took to construct cell 3. We're looking at 4 years from now having to do another cell, have the money for another cell, and we don't have the borrowing capacity to construct a new one. So the first order of business is to see how much material in our waste stream we can actually divert. The first thing that we did in 2008, at the same time that we did cell number 3, we had permitted this construction and demolition cell, which was excavated adjacent to cell number 1. That's that 1998 cell there. This is a 3-acre cell at present. It's designed to go out another 3 acres to the east, and as it fills up, it can actually overtop cell 1. That's the engineered design of this C&D cell. So there is virtually no limit. Certainly the 20-year permit that we have for the landfill at the present time would cover that, but likely it would go out for the entire 40 years. This is an excellent way to divert material because this cell does not require a liner. The construction is already done on it, and we don't need to do any more construction. So any material that comes into the landfill that can be classified as construction and demolition material, according to the definition of the Solid Waste Bureau, can actually go into this cell, which is less expensive airspace. The rate on this cell is $47 a ton. That's what we have calculated as the replacement cost. But the rate on this C&D cell is $25 a ton. That kind of price difference drives customers to source separate the C&D and make sure that it doesn't go into that $47 a ton cell. Other diversion strategies that we have is to source separate materials that can be recycled. We have source separated metal for at least 10 years. We started dealing with metal before it became precious on the market, and there was actually a time when we first started separating it out that we actually had to pay for it to be shipped to market. Nowadays, with the value of scrap metal, we can actually have a portable baler come out, we can bale the metal, we can ship it to market, and we can make money on it. Other materials, and this is the brand new recycling center that opened up a year ago, and we have the diversion taking place at our collection stations. We've got 3 collection stations set up at the present time, and the 4th one is expected to go online in about a week or 2. So the main commodity is cardboard because this has the most volume that we can take out of the landfill and receive the best market price for it. So the materials are source separated at the collection stations and they're brought to the recycling facility. They are loaded into this baler, they're baled, they're stockpiled, they're set on a truck, and they're shipped to market. Scrap tires are source separated. They don't go into a cell either, even though legally they can. We separate all of our tires, we ship them down to Denver City, Texas, where they are ground into construction-grade crumb rubber, and they're used in rubberized asphalt in Texas highways. Green waste that comes into the landfill, and green waste is branches and limbs, is ground up into mulch. We have composting operations. This is a mortality composting operation here, where all of the large and small animals that come in are composted. And then we have a new septic composting facility here with a large dewatering lagoon that was funded from a grant from the Environment Department. And it just opened for business today. So all of these materials are kept out of that MSW cell in an effort to lengthen its lifespan. Capital requirements over and above operational costs for the landfill. The state law requires the authority to set aside funds that will be used after the landfill is closed. It'll be used for the closure construction and also for the ongoing monitoring of that landfill site for 30 years after the landfill is closed. We have to have engineers periodically give us cost estimates of what those closure and post-closure costs are. And then we have to set aside funds. It's a sinking fund between now and the end of the closure of the landfill. The permitted life of the landfill right now is 20 years. There will be another 20-year permit at that site after this year, but the money that we have to set aside is based on that 20-year period. And right now, that's $33,000 a year that we have to set aside, and that's according to state law. In '98, when we borrowed the money for the permitting and the construction of this L3, it created this nut of $75,000 a year of debt service. This goes out for another 18 years. Obviously, that is mandatory. Because our members contribute their environmental services gross receipts tax revenues, these revenues are dedicated for the landfill capital development, and we should be setting aside, after this $75,000 is paid out of that, we should be setting aside up to $100,000 out of the environmental services gross receipts tax revenues and also out of net revenues from the landfill. To date, that's not happening. The invested funds of the authority at the present time are financial assurance account, and this is the account for the closure and post-closure of the landfill, is at $324,356. This is the account that we are required at the present time to put $33,000 a year in. We have set aside $362,077 for the landfill capital development. If we had $100,000 for the next 4 years, we'd be looking at nearly $800,000 that we would have set aside in cash, and it probably wouldn't be difficult to come up with the other $200,000. We do have that $75,000 in a CD, which that loan payment is due February the 1st. The authority is given the environmental services gross receipts tax revenues after loans are paid at the end of June of every year, and immediately this $75,000 is pulled out to keep in reserve for debt service. And the final invested fund that we have is $101,763, which is the reserve account, and this parallels the municipalities and counties are required to set aside 3/12 or 4/12 of their operating budget. Special districts are not required to, although it is a prudent business practice to do so. So we've got $101,000 for unanticipated emergent events. Last week, the EVSWA board met after having the experience of the first quarter of FY13. They went through the revenues and made adjustments of the revenues based on the experience of the first quarter, and they did the same thing with the expenses. Total revenues projected based on the first quarter of operation were $1,487,300. Expenses were $1,577,146, which left a negative net revenue of $89,000, and we still have this $33,000 that we are required to put into that financial assurance fund. So the board last week was looking for the fiscal year, a shortfall of $122,846. There was an offer from the County of Bernalillo to bring the waste stream from the East Mountain Transfer Station at Tijeras, if that waste could be disposed at the rate of $30 a ton. I said the rate in the MSWSL is $47 a ton. For our member entities, it's $31 a ton, because they have the compensating revenue stream of the tax funds that make up that difference. County of Bernalillo, the reason in 2008 that they pulled out of the landfill as a partner is because they were no longer willing to contribute any more of their ESGRT funds. They, county commissioners at that time, had other designs on that money. But this board of directors said, well, there's got to be some way that we can balance this budget against this shortfall of $122,000. So they decided to accept the waste stream from Bernalillo County's East Mountain Transfer Station, which this fiscal year is estimated to be $90,000, bringing this revenue for landfill tipping fees to $706,000, total income up to $1,577,300, leaving a net revenue of $154, but there's still that $33,000 this year that is going to have to come out of this reserve account to go into this financial assurance account. It's not an expense, it's a transfer of funds from one account to another account. But you can plainly see that we can do that 1 year, and we can possibly do that 3 years, but that's all she wrote as far as that reserve account is concerned. And that's with all of with no extraordinary expenses from heavy equipment, which we know can be extremely expensive. The last thing I'd like to look at is what the authority does for the county. This is a map of Torrance County collection stations. Linda, if I could ask you to please. There are 8 manned collection stations at the present time. The largest one being the Northern Collection Station, which is situated just south of Moriarty. We have stations outside the municipalities of Estancia and Mountaineer. There is a station that is at Willard, but because of the personnel problems that we've had manning that station and also the lack of customers, there are only 2 county customers there. The board decided last week to go ahead and close that station. So at present time, we have the station here at Moriarty, which is open 7 days a week because of the dense population center here. South of Edgewood, over in the Hills and Valleys area, is our Hills and Valley station. Along Lexco Road is the Indian Hill Station. Both of these stations are open 3 days a week. The station at Tahiti, which serves the beginning of the East Mountain, the north of the East Mountain community over here, is open 3 days a week. The station at Estancia is open 3 days a week. The station outside of Mountain Air and the station at Punta de Agua are each open 2 days a week. So the document that you have shows where the stations are, and it shows the average number of customers per day and how many days a week the station is open. You can see here, this is the Northern Collection Station, showing a line of cars, and very often, if you've used that collection station, you've sat in a line waiting to be checked in. It's really busy, particularly on the weekend. That 95 a day is a daily average. I would guess probably during the week it's more in the 40s and 50s, and on the weekends it's 120 to 150. That's a station that has a stationary compactor, and we also, of course, have the source-separated recycling operation. We do have a manned station down at Torrance, and the chief difference really between Torrance and Willard is that Willard is incorporated, and the folks that live in Willard have their own solid waste collection system. Torrance is not incorporated, so the 24 households down there are actually county customers. So we're responsible to provide the solid waste services for those folks down there. We've got some front loader containers that are serviced by by the town of Vaughn. And we also, at that station down there, we have our roll-off containers for bulky items and recyclables. The budget that you looked at here is the overall budget of the authority. It's actually a lot more complicated than that. Last time I was here at the County Commission, I talked about this new program that we have that allows us to allocate revenues and expenses by fund. This is one of those sheets, and it's really quite extensive because it takes personnel, for instance, by name, and it assigns expenses for each one of these people based on their salary, and then it assigns an allocation of funds either to the county operation, to the landfill, to our roll-off services, or to recycling. And there's an extension out here based on those allocations. These extensions go to the personnel expense, and then the other revenues and the other expenses are all allocated out according to those 4 areas. And what we come up with is a bottom line that looks like this. The Torrance County Waste Management System. Now, the first column here is the first quarter, which the board was looking at this last week. During the first quarter, there was a loss of $92,600 for the county waste management system. And over the course of the year, projecting a loss of $305,000. The Estancia Valley Regional Landfill, after the addition of the Bernalillo County business, the projection is that over the FY13, the county will bring in $869,000 with expenses of $537,000 for a net revenue of $331,977. Well, you can see this 331 pretty well offsets that 305 loss from the county waste management system. This is not a sustainable situation.